Hi everybody, it's me. Well, I thought I'd tell you a little bit of a story today. I have just recorded this and I've got to record it again because somebody messaged me and it stopped my camera from working on my phone, so I'm doing it again. This story is a true story. It concerns something that happened over 20 years ago. And at that time, people who were goth or who were alternative or different were in a minority, and they still are, but were treated very much as a minority. And I'm going to tell you about what happened. So, my boyfriend and a few friends of ours really enjoyed going to see the Rocky Horror Show. As a stage show, whatever, you know, we just enjoyed doing it, and we enjoyed getting all made up and dressed up and in costume, and enjoyed letting rip at the theatre, which was great. Since I was 18, I was in my early 20s at this point, and it was something that we just went and did. On this particular night, this particular Saturday night, we'd been to the Rocky Horror Show. I think I was driving because we'd been to the theatre in one part of town, and we went to the club night, which was at the Wagon and Horses on the Saturday night. We went there afterwards, and catching buses and things would have been a bit of a nightmare, so I think I drove. I'm sure I drove. Anyway, that particular night we were in the Wagon and Horses, as we would normally have been later on in the evening anyway. We noticed there were a few people in there who were different to the normal crowd. They were different in the fact that they were kind of trendy and kind of normal type looking, wearing normal type clothes, as opposed to the usual rocker, biker, metalhead type who was wearing jeans and t-shirts, or, you know, dressed up with thigh boots on and that sort of thing. It was a very popular sort of rock disco that all kinds of people used to go to. Everybody knew everybody else in there. And it was a community. It was a sense of community. And it was a really good night. And, you know, it was just, they played so many different kinds of music, and lots of people would be headbanging, and it'd just be great. It was such a lovely night to go to. We usually used to go for a pub crawl before getting there. So we'd usually be a little bit tipsy by the time we got there. This particular night, obviously, I'd been driving, so I was sober. I'd gone out that night. I put some photos in of what we looked like that night. I had a red wig on, and I got a white face and got a face made up and everything. You know, looked a sight. But that was the Rocky Horror Show. That was the point of it, is that, you know, you went overboard. So we'd gone straight from there to the club, knowing that people are, you know, would know that we've been to see the Rocky Horror Show, because they'll have seen us looking as we do, and would say, "You've been to see the Rocky Horror Show?" Oh yeah. So anyway, we were all dressed up, and we got to the club, and as I said, we noticed this group of people in there who were not like everybody else in there. They were obviously strangers. Not just that, they were dressed totally differently. They were dressed like normal people. So they stood out a mile. There was one particular young guy in there who seemed very aggressive. He seemed very... He was staring people down a lot. He was posturing a lot. We just said, "Oh my God, he looks high, he does. Just, you know, he looks like he's on something." So, you know, just kind of stay out of his way, basically, because, you know, we didn't want to draw attention to ourselves, or didn't want to draw attention to him, you know. So we just sort of stay out of our way with our drinks and just kind of carry on dancing and doing what we would normally do. I said at one point, "I'm going to the toilet, I need to go to the loo." So I potted off to the loo, and there are a few other girls in there, and we just kind of, you know, saying, "Have you seen them in there? They're not normally here, aren't they?" Somebody said, "Oh yeah, they're off the estate." Because it was right next to a social housing estate. We knew we were dealing with locals. Bearing in mind, Stoke-on-Trent is not a massive city, but, you know, this particular social housing estate had some families that had a lot of issues, and violence was at the centre of some of those issues. Bearing that in mind, we kind of just got on with it. As I said, we were chatting in the toilets. I opened the door to leave the toilets and saw a wall of people rushing past, and a couple of few girls running through the door of the toilets going, "Get me out of here, get me out of here, get me out of here." Like, what on earth is going on? And they said, "It's kicking off in there, it's kicking off." And I said, "What do you mean it's kicking off?" "Well, they've started a fight, they're fighting." It was like, what? And they were like, "That's never happened here." These girls were very visibly shaken. And I said, "Well, I've got to get out there because my boyfriend's in there, and my friends are in there." What, grief. So I came out. I had a quick scan around the room. I couldn't see my boyfriend. I thought, well, he must be outside, because the vast majority of people had left the venue at this point. And literally were running or walking off, and kind of, or there was fighting. There was lots of scuffling and fighting going on. I was like, oh my God, because this is a time when nobody had mobile phones. So nobody could phone the police, nobody could video what was going on, nothing. It was just, it was each man for himself. So I started running towards the taxi rank that was next door, because I thought, I've got to phone the police. This is ridiculous, this is terrible. And tell them what had happened. As I was going to the taxi rank, I saw one of our friends and his brother and cousin. His brother and cousin were shouting at this woman and her friends who were attacking this guy's younger brother, saying, "Leave him alone, leave him alone." And these girls were attacking this guy. Now, this guy has a disability. He can't get about. He's not quite as able-bodied as the rest of us, unfortunately for him. So it made him stand out even more. And I just said, "Excuse me, what's going on?" And the girl who was attacking my friend turned around and said, "Do you want to fight? Do you want to fight?" And I said, "No, I don't want to fight. I just want to help my friend. Can I help my friend, please?" And she's like, "Ooh." And she just kind of wandered off. My friend was on the floor. His brother was shaken, was really shaken. His cousin was really shaken as well. And we picked him up off the floor. And he was all kind of battered and bruised and everything. I said, "We've got to get him into the taxi rank, and we'll call the police or call an ambulance or something." So I said, "Well, go and have a look at him, make sure he's okay." So he was like, "I'm all right, I'm all right. I'm really." He was really sore about the face and head. So we took him in the taxi rank, where they kind of didn't know what had hit them at all. And I said, "Look, can somebody phone the police, please? Because there's people attacking people in next door." And I said, "And it's really, it's not very good." And I said, "Then my friend's just been attacked." And I said, "I'm just going to go out. I said, I've got to go look for my boyfriend. I want to make sure he's okay." So I came out, bumped into a couple of other friends, and I said, "Have you seen Jace? Have you seen my boyfriend?" And they were like, "Well, no, God, what is it? What's going on?" There's, like I said, these pockets of fighting. And, the rockers, metalheads and bikers were giving as good as they were getting off these people. And I said, I need to find my boyfriend. I need to find him. Make sure he's okay. And to let him know that I'm okay, so that we would know we're both okay. So I said, I'm going back into the venue. I'm going back into the wagon and horses to see if he's in there. So as I was going back in, I noticed he was being held by two guys next to the door, and he was being beaten up by another guy. And I just waded in and said, "What on earth are you doing?" And I just grabbed my boyfriend by the t-shirt and pulled him out. And the other guys released him and they said, "Oh, don't hit her, she's a girl. And that's what I heard. It's like, okay. So because bearing in mind, I'm in full makeup and red wig, so I don't look normal anymore, I look weird. So I grabbed my boyfriend, who was, all bloodied and swollen around the face, and I said, "Look, try and get you to where our other friends are in the taxi rank. We'll get you safe. And then I'll go and get the car. So I got him, carrying him, half walking, because he was staggering, because he'd been beaten up. He was very woozy, and, you know, he'd been hit around the head quite a lot. He was a bit punch drunk. So I took him, you know, got him you know, and sort of manhandled him it was manhandling up the street. Now, while that happened, one police car came from the top of the street to the venue, turned around and zoomed off, because there was, as I said, there were pockets of fighting. I mean, you're looking at a crowd of 100 people in the venue, and, you know, pockets of fighting going on. The next thing I remember, I was grabbed from behind. Bearing in mind, I got this wig on. I was grabbed from behind. I felt my hair go with some of it. And I must have been grabbed with both hands, because I feel the back of my jacket, and that was it. My coat was pulled, which pulled my coat down around my elbow, so I was kind of stuck. And then I was grabbed again and grabbed by the hair and pulled over. And I remember all I could think of doing was curling up into a ball to protect my head and internal organs. And that's what I did. I just lay there, curled up, protecting my internal organs, as I was being kicked viciously around the back, shoulders, and so on, and legs. The next thing I hear is sirens and see blue. I can sort of make out blue flashing lights coming towards us. I managed to. The guy who was assaulting me was dragged off me. I managed to get away and get to my boyfriend and pick him up, because he'd fallen to the floor as well. Pick him up and take him with me. We went back to the taxi rank. I went and got the car. The people that were assaulting us were beating police up. The young guy who had been in the venue, who was obviously high, had got 5 police officers pinning him down. That's how off his face he was. He got 5 police officers pinning him down. Literally, you know, one on each leg, one on each arm, pinning him down to the floor so that they could arrest him, while they're trying to read him his rights. And, you know, the person who apparently had assaulted me was kicking the police cars and everything. And we then spent the rest of the night at the hospital, where my boyfriend had his head x-rayed. I was assessed. Mine was just soft tissue injuries, luckily, and our friend Adam had got a broken jaw. So we were all quite shaken by the whole experience. And the next day, I said to my boyfriend, look, we need to go and give evidence, because this is, you know, this is out of order. This should not happen. And so we gave evidence. I gave 9 pages of evidence, A4, foolscap evidence of what had happened, describing the people that I'd seen, describing the people that I'd seen attacking other people. We kind of waited then. Obviously, my boyfriend needed an operation to fix he had a broken cheek, so he had to have a plate inserted to put his cheek back together. Our friend Adam needed some dental work, but beyond that, his jaw was left. It wasn't dislocated, so it was left, and he had to just eat soup for quite a while until he got the movements and everything back. But these incidents could have been a lot worse. So we had dealt with it, went to the police, gave the evidence, and then waited. Magistrate's appointment appeared, and I was summoned to the magistrate's court with a couple of other people and the police. The police had got all the evidence there. They said, we're going to nail them. We're going to nail them. And they said, did you know what had happened? I said, no. I said, well, I'm going to tell you now what had happened. Because he said, you've got a right to know. One of them had been released from prison earlier that day, and they had decided to go out looking for a fight. I said, well, that's really nice. And, you know, we had a bit of a laugh and a joke with the police and the detectives, who were really very sweet, really supportive, very, very nice people. And really kind of put us at ease, because obviously you're in a situation where you're going into a magistrate's court, and I'd never been in one before, so for me I was quite anxious about it. And I said, well, what happens? They said, well, all she'll do is she'll just swear on the Bible that you are who you say you are, and you give your evidence, and they decide from there. That's right. I literally walked into the courtroom, faced a board of magistrates, faced the accused, and swore on the Bible that I was who I said I was, and that was it. I didn't have to say anything else. All they asked me was, did I recognise this person who had assaulted me? And I said, well, yes, I did recognise him. Well, even though it had been a few months, I did recognise him, yeah, that he had been there that night. That was it. Okay. So then I was allowed to go, and the police were like, well, you know, we've got him, don't worry about it, we've got him. I said, okay. You know, thank you. They thanked me so much for giving 9 pages of evidence, because I gave detailed descriptions of everybody who was involved, and that really kind of helped them. So I did what I thought was my duty to do that, and to make sure that that sort of thing didn't happen again. So time passes, and the next thing I hear is the Crown Court want to see me. I was given a date to go to Crown Court, and I was left sitting in a waiting room for about 6 hours, where a solicitor came to me and said, you know, we're just waiting to see what happens. They might call you, they might not, but, you know, you're our star. You know, you are our star because you have given us 9 pages of evidence that nobody else has given them, because they were being beaten up, or they couldn't remember who it was, or they couldn't describe who it was, or they hadn't seen them properly. Whereas I'd given really detailed descriptions. I'd described clothing, hair, jewellery, things that would set someone apart from things that I thought were important, and obviously are important when it comes to identifying somebody who has committed a crime. So I was left waiting and waiting and waiting. 6 hours in the Crown Court waiting room, dressed normally, not dressed like a rock chick or a goth or anything, dressed with normal makeup on. My long hair was pinned up, I'd got a floral dress on and a jacket, and I looked quite smart. And I saw the person who had been one of the assaulters walk out with somebody. And his very words as he was walking through the waiting room, and I didn't look, I kind of glanced up, saw him, and thought, oh God, if he recognises me, shit. As he was walking past, or as he was walking through, he said, if I ever find out who that fucking bitch is who reported me, I'm gonna fucking kill her. And I just sat there with my piece of paper, my newspaper, or whatever I was reading, just looking at it and kind of thinking, please don't recognise me, please don't recognise me, please don't recognise me, please don't recognise me. Bearing in mind that on that particular night, I had white face, exaggerated makeup, and a red wig. I looked totally different from how I did day to day, or certainly as I had appeared at court. So I was like, oh, thank God for that. Then the usher of the court, or a solicitor came to me and for the prosecution and said, they've been allowed to go, and it's all pending social workers' reports. Thank you so much for coming. You are our star. You really are our star witness, but please, you know, don't be disheartened by this. It is, unfortunately, it looks like they're getting off on a technicality. And that technicality is pending social workers' reports, that it's really not fair, that these people are so victimised because they are from a poor background and, you know, have criminal records already, and isn't it a shame? And it's like, well, hang on a minute. Most of the people that I was with didn't have criminal records. They'd never been in trouble with the police. All they liked to do was go out at the weekend and have a good time. And this was denied to them by a small group of people who kicked off. So bringing things up to a bit more up to date. I was discussing this with a friend of mine, Renee, on Facebook. We were messaging each other and we were discussing about the Sophie Lancaster Foundation and what a good thing it was. And I said I only kind of wished that had been around when that had happened to me. Because I said I've been involved in hate. What I would look at and what people would look at now is a hate crime, where a group of people had targeted a whole pub full of people who were different to them because they thought they could take them all on. And it's like, it's crazy, it's ludicrous, yeah? But that is what happened. We were targeted because we were different, because we looked different, and it should never have happened. Sophie and her boyfriend were targeted because they looked different. Now, one thing I would like people to understand is that every single person on this planet is an individual. Even twins, triplets, monozygotic twins. If you've heard the term monozygotic, they are from the same egg. Twins who look identical are different. Everybody is different. Everybody's got different personality. Everybody has differences. And I am so pleased that we have the Sophie Lancaster Foundation now that go out to educate children in schools. They go out to educate people. They help in the rehabilitation of offenders. They go the extra mile to say, look, you can dye your hair whatever colour you want. You can have facial piercings. You can wear whatever makeup you want. Have your hair however you like it. Wear whatever clothes you want. We have the right to do that. And I am so grateful that that is available for young people now growing up and going through their teens and 20s, safe in the knowledge that they can be who they are without being victimised by anybody else. And that's kind of my message. So I'm kind of going to leave this here now. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that this is recorded. It's got very dark and I've got my light on my phone, so I'm kind of hoping it's worked. So we'll see what happens anyway, and I'll see you all again soon. Take care. Bye.